The voice that runs your life. Stop. Before you scroll past this, before you move on to anything else, I need you to pause for just one moment. Because what I am about to share with you is the single most underestimated force in your entire life. And the strange thing is, it has been there since the moment you could think. You have heard it every single day of your existence. And yet, you have never been taught how to use it. I am talking about the voice inside your head. Your inner voice. The private conversation you have been having with yourself every waking hour. The one nobody else can hear. Here at the Shetty Mindset, we believe that your outer world is always a reflection of the dialogue happening in your inner world. And in the next 30 minutes, I am going to show you exactly what to say to yourself and how to say it for just 3 days. 3 days. Because what the science shows us is extraordinary. And if you stay with me until part 4, what I share there will permanently change how you see yourself. The most important conversations you will ever have are the ones you have with yourself. Researchers at the University of Michigan, led by psychologist Ethan Kross, discovered something profound. The language you use when you talk to yourself determines whether stress makes you stronger or breaks you down entirely. Not the circumstances, not the challenge, the language. In his landmark study published in the Journal of Personality and Social Psychology, Kross found that people who use their own name in self-talk rather than the word I showed dramatically greater emotional regulation, lower cortisol levels, and more confident decision-making under pressure. Think about that. Something as simple as the structure of your inner sentence changes your biology, changes your performance, changes your outcomes. And yet nobody, not your school, not your parents, not your employer, ever sat you down and said, here is how you should speak to the most important person in your life. Here is how you speak to yourself. That ends today. In the next 5 parts of this video, I am going to give you a complete inner voice framework. 5 specific ways to talk to yourself that are backed by neuroscience, proven by psychology, and practiced by the most focused, disciplined, and aligned people on this planet. Stay with me. There is something happening inside your mind right now, something most people never stop to examine. Every time you make a mistake, every time something goes wrong, every time you fall short of where you wanted to be, there is a voice that responds, and for most people that voice is harsh, cold, relentless. I knew you would mess that up. You are not good enough. Who do you think you are? You would never, not in 1,000 years, say those things to a close friend who was struggling. You would never look someone you love in the eye after they failed at something and say, you were always going to fail. And yet, you say it to yourself every day without thinking. Dr. Kristen Neff of the University of Texas conducted 15 years of research on self-compassion. What she found dismantled one of the biggest myths in success culture. She discovered that self-criticism, the internal voice that tears you down, does not make you better. It activates the brain's threat system. It floods your body with cortisol, it narrows your thinking, it destroys creativity, and it makes you risk-averse. You do not perform better under self-criticism, you perform worse. Self-compassion, speaking to yourself the way you would speak to someone you deeply respect, activates an entirely different neurological system. The care circuit, the growth circuit, the one that opens possibility instead of closing it. You handled that the best you could. Here is what you can learn. Here is what you will do differently. That is the voice of a mentor. That is the voice of someone who believes in your potential even when you cannot. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength." Think about a coach who changed someone's life. They were not the ones screaming and tearing the athlete down. They were the ones who saw what the athlete could not yet see and kept reflecting it back until the athlete believed it too. And here is the rhetorical question I want you to sit with. If the voice in your head has been your harshest critic, what might become possible if for just 3 days it became your most trusted mentor instead. And if you have felt the weight of that inner critic, you were not weak. You were human. And now you are ready to do something different. Speak to yourself as a mentor. Speak to yourself as a mentor. Speak to yourself as a mentor. But here is what nobody tells you about that mentor voice. And this is where it gets truly powerful. Stay with me. This is the part most people skip. And it is the single most evidence-backed technique in all of self-talk psychology. It seems almost too simple. And that is exactly why it works. When you talk to yourself using I am nervous. I do not know if I can do this. I am failing. Your brain treats those thoughts as reality. It merges with them. The neural distance between you and the emotion is zero. You are swallowed by it. But when you use your own name, can you handle this? Yes, you can handle this. Something neurologically remarkable occurs. Ethan Kross at the University of Michigan demonstrated in multiple peer-reviewed studies that this shift, called psychological distancing, activates the prefrontal cortex, the region responsible for rational thinking and emotional regulation. You step outside the emotion, you become the observer, you become the coach. LeBron James has spoken publicly about calling himself by his name in high-pressure moments. Malala Yousafzai described a similar practice of addressing herself when she needed courage. The Stoics called it the view from above, removing yourself from the immediacy of fear to see the situation with wisdom. There is an ancient principle at work here. The one who can observe the storm is never fully inside it. Imagine a surgeon about to perform a critical operation saying to themselves, I am so scared, versus saying quietly, you have trained for this. You know what to do. Be present. Which surgeon would you rather have? And which version of yourself do you want showing up for the critical moments of your own life? For the next 3 days, practice this one shift. When you face pressure, when doubt rises, when the challenge feels heavy, use your name. Speak to yourself in second person. Make yourself the protagonist of your own story, not the victim of your own fear. And if you have ever felt completely overwhelmed by your own thoughts, you were not broken. Your brain was just missing this one tool. Use your name. Use your name. Use your name. And this next part, this is the part that will shift everything. Because we are going to talk about the 3 words that the most intentional people on the planet use to start every morning. Here is how most people begin their morning self-talk. They wake up and immediately their inner voice starts asking questions. What if today is hard? What if I am not enough? What if I fall behind again? And the brain, being the answer-seeking machine that it is, immediately starts finding evidence to prove those questions right. This is not weakness. This is neuroscience. It is called the reticular activating system, the filtering mechanism in your brainstem that prioritizes information matching your dominant thoughts. Ask your brain a fearful question, and it will spend all day finding fearful proof. But the most focused, most disciplined, most aligned people on the planet, they do not start their day with questions. They start with declarations, statements of intent, commitments to who they are choosing to be before the world gets the chance to vote. Not affirmations in the passive sense, not I am happy and rich while feeling the opposite. Declarations are different. They are rooted in your values, your identity, your chosen direction. Today, I am the kind of person who does the work even when it is difficult. Today, I choose to protect my energy. Today, I show up with full presence. Research from Carnegie Mellon University showed that intentional self-affirmation, when aligned with one's core values, measurably reduced the effects of chronic stress and improved problem-solving capacity under pressure. Buddha taught this thousands of years before the neuroscience caught up. The mind is everything. What you think, you become, not what happens to you. What you think, what you say to yourself, what you declare about who you are. What if instead of waking up tomorrow and asking, what if this goes wrong, you said, I am someone who finds a way. I am someone who grows through challenge. I am someone who rises. And if you have begun 100 mornings in anxiety, in doubt, in dread, you were not failing. You were never given the language. Now you have it. Declare who you are. Declare who you are. Declare who you are. Stay with me, because what I am about to share is the most important insight in this entire video, and it lives in part 4. This is the moment everything either breaks you or builds you, and it all comes down to 5 words. When something hard happens, when the plan fails, when the opportunity does not come through, when the effort does not produce the result, most people say these words, I cannot believe this happened to me. 5 words. And they are 5 of the most disempowering words in the human language, because they place you as the passive recipient of life, the subject of events, the one things happen to, rather than the one who decides what they mean. The most unbreakable people, the ones who have lost everything and rebuilt, the ones who have been underestimated and risen, they have learned to say 5 different words. What is this teaching me? Stanford psychologist Carol Dweck spent decades studying what separates those who break under pressure from those who grow through it. Her research into the growth mindset showed definitively that the language people use in response to failure determines their trajectory. Those who narrate failure as information, as data, grow. Those who narrate it as identity, I am a failure, contract. The Stoics understood that it is not the event that defines you. It is the meaning you assign to it, and the voice that assigns that meaning is yours alone. Think of every person you know who has been through something genuinely difficult, loss, rejection, public failure, betrayal, and came out the other side more powerful, more purposeful, more aligned. They did not emerge by chance. They emerged because the voice inside their head refused to call the experience their final destination. It called it a classroom. What if every obstacle you have ever faced was not evidence that life was against you, but evidence that the universe was building capacity in you, that the easy path could never have provided? And if you have faced something that felt too heavy to carry, you were not weak. You were in the classroom, and everything you learned there is yours to keep forever. Ask what it is teaching you. Ask what it is teaching you. Ask what it is teaching you. But there is one final level to this, the deepest one, and it is the one that will make the first 4 parts permanent. Your day does not end when you close your eyes. Your brain does not switch off. While your body rests, your unconscious mind, the most powerful processor on the planet, continues working, consolidating, reinforcing, and it works with whatever you feed it last. Research from Harvard Medical School on sleep and memory consolidation revealed something most people have never considered. The thoughts and emotions you experience in the final 20 to 30 minutes before sleep are disproportionately processed and reinforced during REM cycles. Your brain takes the last input and builds with it through the night. Most people end their day by scrolling through the anxieties of the world. They consume news that frightens them, arguments that agitate them, comparisons that diminish them. And then they wonder why they wake up tired, heavy, and already defeated before the day has begun. The most intentional people, the most disciplined, the most energetically protected, the most consistently aligned, they have made the bedtime inner voice a sacred ritual. Before sleep, they ask themselves, what did I do today that I am proud of? What did I learn? What am I grateful for? Who am I becoming? Not toxic positivity, not pretending difficult things are not difficult, but intentionally refusing to let the last voice their unconscious hears be the voice of fear, of lack, of not enough. Einstein said, imagination is more important than knowledge, and what you imagine about yourself in the quiet of the night is the blueprint your brain begins constructing the moment you close your eyes. Think of it this way. You would not end a training session by poisoning your body. You would fuel it correctly so it could recover and grow while you sleep. Your mind is no different. Your self-talk at night is either fuel for tomorrow's version of you or toxin. For 3 days, just 3, make the last voice you hear before sleep intentional, worthy, aligned, sacred, and watch what builds inside you while the world is quiet. And if you have ended 100 nights in worry, in regret, in not enough, you were not